Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fueled by Coffee and Grace. I'm your host, Laura Jane, and it's been 1 year since we have been living in a pandemic. So, how you holding up? It's been a ride, hasn't it? The last 12 months have been very interesting, to say the least. 2020 started out with so much promise. I had my standard New Year's resolutions of losing weight. Okay. And I had embarked on completing my bachelor's degree. Of course, that started literally a week before the pandemic hit. And yeah, that was like a 6 year hiatus when I picked it up again. But other than those two things, I had pretty low expectations for the year. I mean, if I had only known on January 1st that in a little over 2 months my life would be forever changed. I remember when it was real, when it was really real. It was Sunday, March 15th, and I got a text from my job instructing us to not go into work the next day. It wasn't that unusual. My office is located in a geographic anomaly where the building loses power anytime the wind blows more than 10 miles an hour. So it wasn't anything that freaked me out. But then I got a recorded call saying that we were not to come into the office until further notice. And it was like, okay, well, that was new. And then I received an email stating the same thing. That began to make me a little concerned because that had never happened before. A text, a call, and then an email. What was going on? I mean, you have no idea what was going through my mind. At the time I was just like, what? And then there was this part of me that secretly was like, please, 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 I don't want to work in the office. Let us work from home. Please, please, please. Well, the next day, we got a all company email saying that because of the pandemic, our office was closing indefinitely. Now, I knew that there had been concerns about the virus. I was watching the news and seeing, another case, another case, another case, but like an actual pandemic, like the Spanish flu that killed millions of people in 1918 pandemic. Holy crap. I mean, was this the beginning of the apocalypse? So I rarely watch live TV. I DVR everything just because I don't want to watch the commercials and I can fast forward through them. But I turned on the news and I was just completely stunned. I had no idea. I had no idea it was that bad. And then the president came on and proclaimed a national emergency, and then the governor of my state shut down the state. It happened so fast. It was the most surreal experience of my life, and I've had some really, really weird things happen to me. But anyways, the following week, my company issued laptops to everybody so we could work remotely, and that was surprisingly a very easy transition for me. And it also helped preserve some semblance of a normal routine. I mean, because my life was turned upside down. Your life was turned upside down. Everybody's life was turned upside down. Anyways, I became obsessed with watching the cases and the death counts. I had the TV on all the time. Anytime I was awake, the TV was on. I had it on while I worked. I had it on while I watched every update that the president had. I watched every update from our governor. And, spring turned into summer. And then I started watching all the news with the riots because of the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all these other people. And I watched buildings burn and people attacking each other. And the uncertainty and fear of what was happening was almost crippling. I really thought I was witnessing the end of the world, and the fear and anxiety that got a hold of me was just, I can't put words into it. I was terrified. I was terrified to leave my home. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't, I was isolated. I couldn't see my kids. It was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And watching the news certainly didn't help. That was just more fear mongering. That the more I watched the news, the scareder I got, the more anxious I got, the more irritable I got, and oh my goodness, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And then I really started turning to the Lord. I'm like, Lord, what's going on? What am I supposed to do? I just kept praying Psalm 91 again and again and again and again and again. And my anxiety and my fear weren't going away. And so I knew I couldn't allow it to control me anymore. So I turned off the news. I turned it off. I couldn't anymore. I couldn't. It was just too overwhelming. So I started, other than saying my prayer, and I started reading the Bible a lot. I started talking to God a whole lot more. I made it a point when I would clock out of work, I would spend 20 minutes in prayer just because I needed to do that. It was important that I did that. For my own mental health, I needed to do that. I also started to focus on positive things and making positive changes in my daily routine. I made changes to my diet because I was eating a lot of comfort food. And comfort food for me is carbs, more carbs, and cheese. And I knew I had to start doing something because at least I could control what goes in my mouth. I may not be able to control what's going on around me, but I could control what goes into my mouth. The problem is I am Sicilian, and let's just say that carbs is as much a part of me as air and water. I honestly don't know of an Italian who can live without carbs. So I started controlling what I ate, and then I created a daily routine for myself. When my alarm went off, I made it a daily routine before my feet even hit the floor. I would pray. I woke up with gratitude. And I've said this many times in my podcast. I wake up every morning and I thank God for waking up in a comfortable bed with a roof over my head. I thank Him for hot running water, indoor plumbing, electricity, heat, in the summer air conditioning, a car that works, and food in my fridge. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of people who don't have that. So every morning I thank God for those small things, because it's those small things that we take advantage of, that we don't think about until they're not there. I always wake up and thank God. Oh my goodness. So yes, I wake up every day and I'm very, very grateful. And I'm also grateful that I have a job. There's a lot of people who lost their jobs because of the pandemic. I fortunately have been able to work through it. And I'm very, very grateful for that. So these are just these little things in my routine that I do. I'm trying to add more and more with the spring and having the really nice weather. I'm trying to get out and walk more. I lead a very sedentary life, and I know that's very unhealthy, especially being in my mid-50s now. So I try to, when weather permitting, I try to walk, 20 minutes a day, maybe 25 if the wind isn't blowing too hard, because, the wind is cold. And I'm a bit of a baby when it comes to being cold. I'm trying to I'm trying to make these small positive changes so that I have a sense of control, because a lot of the country is opening up, but in the state that I'm in, we're still in lockdown. And with my school, I finished. It was 10 years in the making, but I completed my bachelor's degree during the pandemic. And I'm graduating with honors, which is really cool because I barely graduated high school. Goal achieved. The one good thing that came out of this pandemic, though, is that it forced me to change how I looked at the world and how I did things. I was forced to reevaluate every area of my life, my relationships, my behaviors, my routines, my purpose, my goals. As a matter of fact, I started this podcast during the pandemic. I thought that there's got to be other people who feel the way I do, who think the way I do. I'm unique, but I'm not that unique. And, the pandemic turned my life upside down. And it was really difficult to accept the changes that were happening in the world. I had to learn to adapt. Or else I would have simply given up on any hope that the world would ever be a happy place again. And I'm so glad I did, because this pandemic has allowed me to explore new things, improve myself. My relationship with the Lord has never been closer. And I cannot tell you how wonderful it is to have a personal relationship with God. He has taken such good care of me. He has made sure that I am safe. I am safe. I have food. I'm protected from the elements. And he listens to me blather on and on and on and on, because I'm a blatherer. I talk. I word vomit on God a lot. A lot. But, by His grace, I can do that. But He's always been faithful. Let's face it, life is messy. Life is unfair. Life is unpredictable. But life is also the most wonderful, frustrating, exciting, and terrifying journey we will ever take. Ever. Things never turn out the way we expect, and we are very often disappointed. However, I think if we choose to focus on what we can control and purposely live our life by looking for the good in people, looking for the good in a situation, looking for the good in a circumstance, then we can begin the process of eliminating anxiety or fear. Anxiety and fear in what's going on around us, anxiety and fear for the future. If we can start each day with a little bit of gratitude, and if we make it a priority to just talk to God, just like I'm talking to you, to just talk to God every day, and maybe shut up just long enough to where we might actually hear Him, we can have a little gratitude, a little grace, a lot of coffee. Then I think we will all be unstoppable. I don't think there's anything we can't do. And we will see life for what it is, a wondrous and beautiful thing. So, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And as always, Fueled by Coffee and Grace isn't just the name of this podcast, it is a lifestyle. So thanks again, and until next time.